Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Technician podcast, and here are your hosts, Jalid, under the symbol NoBucksJS, and Technar, Curtis, and we have the wonderful, honorable Ted Ings on the podcast.
Hey, Jalid, Curtis, how you guys doing?
Good. How are
Good,
you,
sir. How are you today?
Good. So, Jalid, is this your inaugural, the first one, or one of the first ones?
This is honestly one of the first ones. This is about my second one, so it's a learning process.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right.
Yeah, we're cooking. We're just starting out a little bit. So luckily, you were honoring us with your presence and giving us the opportunity to do a little interview with you and spend a little time with us and kind of show us what we're about and learn a little bit more about you. I know you, but I think there's some technicians out there that could really learn a lot from you, the FixOps Roundtable, and just the message that you guys have been putting out for a while and how it can apply to technicians.
You guys do a great job. In particular, Curtis, you got a very strong following on social media. So congratulations to you on that. I watch your Instagram feed all the time, and now I see it popping up on LinkedIn and everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing compared to this guy. I mean, he's quite the character when it comes to Instagram, because he can film in the shop. So they let him film in the shop, and he does some pretty fun stuff.
Yeah, it's more of an entertainment bit. I look up to Technar as well as the business aspect of things. He's got more connections in that feature, and I strive to be in that same way someday. So it's amazing that we're able to have you on the podcast this early. I was like, we're having such a prominent figure on early on. So it's an amazing honor, and we appreciate it very much, sir.
Curtis is a great networker, so watch out.
Yeah, see.
Well, maybe in a few years you'll be able to call me the second great connector.
You'll be the great connector now. That's right.
Yeah.
I'll say I knew him way back when.
So exciting news, Ted. I know there's some things that you wanted to talk about, especially, but it's kind of funny because you mentioned Star Wars medicine, and the way of the technician is Star Wars themed. So I think we can start it off a little bit talking about some things. I watched one of your podcasts earlier today that you sent me, and some things really caught me by surprise. Things I didn't know about you, things I didn't know about the FixOps Roundtable, and especially some things with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, specifically Dr. Lou. Now, I can't say his whole name, but I'm sure that you will help me here.
Dr. Louis DeGennaro, president and CEO, now past president of LLS. And that's a cause that's near and dear to my heart. A lot of people in the retail car business are affected by cancers, especially blood cancers, and a lot of prominent people. And not everybody talks about it. All right. So it's affected a lot of folks, usually later in life, although children can be affected as well. And we've raised over the last few years hundreds of thousands of dollars for LLS for research. And a small amount in a big amount, they've raised billions and billions of dollars. But it's you're right. Star Wars medicine is out there now, and people who are diagnosed today with cancers can get treatment and live long lives where 15, 20 years ago, they would have died, after a short period of time. So it's pretty amazing what Star Wars medicine has done.
Yeah, he was talking about you go to the pharmacy and you get a prescription and you're able to take the medicine versus doing some rigorous chemotherapy. So I know when when were you diagnosed with cancer?
I was diagnosed more than 10 years ago. So I was already in the car business for 30 some years, I would imagine. And I was surprised and shocked when I went to the doctor, and they were taking blood tests and they couldn't figure out what I had, or if I had anything. They didn't know. And then I finally had to see some specialists and took some specialized tests. And I'll never forget, Curtis, going to the doctor and in the exam room, waiting for the doctor to come in. And the doctor came in, and it was maybe the second time I had seen him. And he said, would you come with me to my office? And we went to his office, and I sat in the chair across from his desk, and he closed the door. So I knew something was up, something was different, because that doesn't normally happen. And he gave me the news that I had leukemia, and I was, as I said, shocked. I'd never thought that was even possible. I felt fine, and yet it was in a blood test, and that's how I found out.
Yeah, what were some? I mean, I'm sure your heart was pounding, just like you could feel your heart beating in your head. What were some of those things that you were thinking in the moment?
I had gone to get a haircut, and the hairdresser said, "What's that lump on the side of your neck?" And I said, "What lump?" Right? And so that's what kind of gave it away, right? So, um, the things that would normally go through your mind, right? You're diagnosed and you hear leukemia. So I knew somebody many years ago, gentlemen, when I was still in retail many, many years ago, and he was a salesperson who worked for me, and his son died of leukemia, and his son was like in his early 20s. And I remember going to the funeral, and it was very, very sad. And that type of leukemia today is very treatable. Okay, so there's probably thousands of kinds of leukemias. And I mentioned to you that a lot of people in the car business that I know of now have been diagnosed with it. And like I said, we don't always talk about it, but there's a lot more treatment available today. And, the great news for me today, Curtis, is that I'm saying this for the first time, I'm cancer free. I have 0.000 cancer in my body, and
That's exciting.
they do like a DNA test on you, right? And it takes a couple tests over time. They got to make sure, right? And you don't want to jinx it, right? But
Yeah.
I've been at over at 000 or under for over a year, and that's pretty good news. So.
Yeah, and that I mean, there's always chance of remission, but it kind of just makes you feel a little bit more comfortable about it. They always gotta keep that door just a little bit open, but uh, 0 zeros for over a year. I mean, that's wonderful, and I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always possible it could come back, like you said. If it came back, though, they tell me that it would take a long time. And I was going through a lot of different types of treatments over the years, and they were just basically, keeping it at bay, right? Just keeping it where I'm gonna live and I'll survive and all that. But it wasn't until maybe 2.5 years ago that I was working with CLL, with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, LLS, and Dr. Lou Gennaro came on the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and we were raising some money for them. And he told us about a new. I told him the type of cancer I had, and he told me about a new Star Wars medicine that I should ask my doctor about, which I did. I was on a different medicine, and the doctor said, "Yeah, that might work, but we'd have to see if your insurance will approve it," and they did. And it wasn't if it wasn't for Dr. Lou mentioning that to me, I probably never would have asked about it. And that was the one that did the trick. That was an FDA approved drug, and I took it for about a year, and it got my numbers down. And they told me when I started it, they said, "Look, there's like an 80% chance if you take this that you're going to be cured."
Wow.
And I don't ever hear the word cure with leukemia or cancer. And I said, "Did you say cure?" They said, "Yeah, cured. There's really good odds, okay, if you can survive the side effects," which I did, and they were minimal. And so yeah, and here I am today, 100% cancer free. So
Yeah, I love to hear it. That pod, one of the podcasts you mentioned to me, where you were raising money, and that was during COVID, right?
yeah, so let's go back. Fixed Ops Roundtable was started because I was in the business for 30 some years, was diagnosed with leukemia, and I had to go through some treatments, and I had to come off the road. I used to travel 45 weeks out of the year, and I came off the road for like 4 or 5 years to go through treatment. And now I was ready to come back, and I was looking at the car business, and I said, "Geez, I wonder if anybody will remember me." Okay, so I had some good clients from many years ago. Brian Benstock had been my client since the early 2000s. A fellow named Fred Beans, the largest franchise dealer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, 25 stores, was my client, who I found out later also diagnosed with leukemia. All right. And I needed to come back. So I thought, well, let's, to make myself relevant, Curtis, I would start a group, have them all meet in my office in Manhattan. I have a beautiful office. And we would do an event called the Fixed Operations Roundtable. And I had thought about it for a couple of years, but I wasn't sure if anybody was going to show up. But I did all this because I had to come off the road for the leukemia. And I started the Fixed Operations Roundtable, and I didn't know if it was going to work. And, we filled up the conference room. It seated like 12 people, and we had 25 to 30 people show up, and that was the first one. And then we had the second one, and that was in California. My first was in New York. Third one was in New Jersey. Fourth one was in Las Vegas. And by then we were up to like almost 300 people coming to an in-person event for one day. And everybody told me I was crazy. They said, "What are you doing an event on fixed operations? Nobody's going to come to that. You're spinning your wheels. You're wasting your time. That's of little to no interest. All the glamour is on the sales side. Nobody wants to hear about parts and technicians and waiting for parts and warranty and all the other things about that." So everybody who told me I was crazy, okay, Curtis, today has a show on fixed ops and is trying to compete. Right? So, there you go.
How the tables have turned. It's funny. Look at us now. Here we are, as technicians, climbing out. Here we are, and I think and Jay knows here. Technicians are becoming the face of the dealership. We've got these video inspections and stuff like that. And Jay, just quickly, just wanted talking about video inspections. What are some things that you've seen for yourself, and bringing technicians to light that those videos inspections have helped kind of you and the guys in your shop?
I believe they've helped everybody in a wonderful way with just putting our face out there more, creating a better environment for the customer to be able to trust the technician and just get hear their voice and hear the points that they're making on the MPI, and also making sure everybody has a certain level of integrity, which you want to have that in a credible business, because without it, what kind of shop are you running? So I just feel like that is helped technicians be more social. I see more technicians my day-to-day basis get in the vehicle with a customer just because they're already talking to the customer on the screen. They've already talked to them. So I just feel like it's one of the best things for the industry, and it's one of the best things for fixed operations.
So Jay, do you remember when these first came out, these videos for the tech, and when they were introduced to the tech? I don't know. How long have you been a tech, by the way?
I've been a tech for like 3.5 years, but I remember everybody says they hated them.
They fought it, right? They fought it. They don't like it. Curtis, it's not going to work. I'm not doing it. I'm not getting paid for it, right? You've heard the whole story. So rewind, go back 25 years. There was a new thing that came out called the MPI, the multi-point inspection, okay? And we tried to get technicians to do that. And guess what they said? No, we're not doing that. We're not getting paid for it. We're not going to do an MPI. This is crazy. This is, scandalous that you would have us fill out this form and give it to the, with a copy for the customer. And we're not going to check all these things. So we had amazing pushback in the early 2000s to even doing an MPI. Okay. Fast forward to today. Most every dealership does it. Not them all, not everyone. But today it's the standard, right? It's the gold standard. It's electronic. Customer expects it. We got the customer involved with asking for it. And now you've taken it to a whole new level by doing the video MPI. I just took my car into the shop on Friday, and the dealership sent me the tech MPI. And here I am. I'm watching it, Jay. I'm looking at it. I'm saying, okay, that's my car, but he's not doing that good, because here's my car. It's not on the lift. It's on the ground, and he's doing the video inspection. And I know that's not right. Okay. Put it up on the lift. Come on. I want to see what it looks like. And then finally, towards the end of it, he does bring it up on the lift, but he shortcut a whole lot of things, Curtis. Right. And anyway, so that was my story.
How do you think, I'm sorry, but how do you think they finally persuaded the technicians in the early 2000s to then move along with the MPIs? What was that threshold that they ended up crossing to convince them?
Anytime you do change in anything in life, and in business and personal, it can be messy. And it was messy. All right. Some got on board, some did not. It took years. Okay. It didn't happen overnight. Jay, there was a dealer in Boston in 2004. I was hired by Mazda North American Operations to go around the country and introduce the new Mazda Full Circle Report Card, which was the MPI, green, yellow, red. And we had to go out and do meetings with dealers. And we did meetings with dealers all around the country. They were about 4 or 5 hour meeting. And as part of that, we positioned it as part of the walk around. We'd walk around the car with the customer, and we'd look at their needs. We would check the mileage with the customer. We'd ask them to join us outside. We'd go over the primary concern, Curtis. We would ask them if there's anything else. Is it okay if I step inside the car? Get permission. We got permission to start the car, turn the wheel to the right, to release the hood, put the lights on. We checked for valuables. So this whole process of then turning the tire to the right, looking at the tire with the customer, with a lanyard, going around the car, lifting the hood, this thing took like 3.5 minutes. And it was called the service walk around. And as part of that, the customer would expect an MPI, Jay, at the end, right? There was this one dealer in Boston, a Mazda dealer, I'll never forget it to this day, who I've done a lot of dealer meetings, and this guy challenged me. He said, there's no way our customers are going to tolerate a walk around in the service department to look at their car. They're just here for service, and you're going to have them get this report card. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he threw it in the air or he ripped it up in front of all the other dealers. And he said, this is not going to work. And I mean, he came at me like a ton of bricks. And you don't forget that. Okay. I was a lot younger back then. And he challenged me and said, this is in front of all the dealers, and said, it's not going to work. And we were actually selling this to the dealer as part of a training program with Mazda, and they got to use the MPI. Well, some of the dealers signed up that day, some didn't. His dealership did sign up later in the week. They signed up. And today, that same dealer owns a company that does video MPIs. That was the dealer who 20 years ago, 22 years ago, told me in front of all the dealers, it'll never work. He's got one of the biggest video MPI customers, companies out there, and you will know the name if I mention the name. And I had him on the Fixed Ops Roundtable a year ago, and he was brought in by CDK, and I welcomed him, and I said his name. I said, do you remember me? He goes, no. I go, do you by chance have a Mazda dealership in New England near Boston? He goes, yes, my brother and I have a Mazda dealership. I go, do you remember when the video MPI was introduced, or the MPI before video was introduced, and the service walk around, and Mazda invited you to a dealer meeting and you attended that meeting? And I knew who he was because he spoke with a very thick Boston accent. And you could see on his face, he knew who I was. Okay, he goes,
all these years later.
he goes, yeah. And you know what he said? I'm sorry about that. Okay.
It came full circle now.
Sometimes we don't see progress.
Yeah. And he tried to tell me, oh no, that was my brother. Okay. And I said, no, that was you.
Yeah, you don't forget something like that when someone gets in your face and tears up a piece of paper and makes a big scene. That's something you're going to remember.
And that was the least of it. The words that were used were pretty interesting, but he fought it. And this was a dealer. So imagine his techs being asked to do it, right? The dealer did this. What are they going to do? But so that's how change happens. Okay. People resist it and then they come along. Brian Benstock says it probably the best. He says, it's amazing in life how long things take. And it's shocking how fast they happen. Okay. So you reach that tipping point, and then at that certain tipping point, everything goes over the edge. So
it's kind of strange how we still talk about videos, because I've been doing videos for almost 4 years, and I feel like what conversation still comes up, and I thought we've already reached the tipping point. I'm like, everyone's doing videos by now, and there's still dealerships out there and techs out there like, oh, I'll never do that. I'll quit before I do a video. And I'm just like, I mean, that's crazy. It's going to help you so much. It helps the customer so much. And just, I mean, your example earlier of being able to see the underside of your car or the car, and you're even like, oh, he's not doing it right, because you've seen videos and you've seen the examples, and your expectation is set so high that, people like Jay and I are setting the bar higher on these videos and like trying to, I mean, they're almost like a tool to retain customers for us, because that's my only way to talk with the customer.
Well, you see, you've already built it in. It's going to take, on a fairly new car, it's going to take you a couple minutes. So you've already templated. You know what your opening is going to be. It's going to be for that customer, for that car. Let them see the car, see their vehicle, their plate up in the air. They never get a chance to look under the car. You're going to show them that. So the things that are involved. So you've already got your setup. Okay. And that's the same thing with every technician, right? So they just got to build this into their process. And, some older vehicles with higher mileage are going to take longer, right? But guess what? Higher mileage, vehicle age equals what? Opportunity, right? And those are the opportunities you're looking for. and you want to help those customers with things that they actually really need. We're not going to sell them stuff that they don't need. So
yeah, transparency. That's one of the key things that we need.
yeah, and want to know something? They fought us on transparency too. They said you're never going to be transparent in the service department, right? So, but it's happened, okay, and
I mean,
that's more recent. So,
just the way of the future, and the Fix Ups Roundtable. You spoke about having that guy on your podcast or your show, and it's kind of crazy how it comes full circle like that. And here you are with this amazing platform, and you're bringing the conversation to so many individuals. I've noticed you've been going to more dealerships, having techs on, having different, people from each dealership. And I think that's exciting. I've been on there, but just like techs from the dealership, you were at Snell and they were, you had techs on there. And, I'm just kind of curious for myself, but also some of the viewers, what are some things that, what are some short-term and long-term goals that you have for yourself and the Fix Ops Roundtable? Because I know you got some big things cooking. Maybe you can share it. Maybe you can't.
We do have a couple big things. I can't share them yet. But honestly, Curtis, when I came out with the Roundtable in 2019, there were like 3 big projects I was working on pre-COVID. And I forget what the first 2 were, but the third one was the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And I said, this is the one the least likely to succeed. Okay. So I put that as number 3. I didn't think it was going to work out. But it did. All right. And so I've been surprised by, it was never intended that we were going to go online when COVID happened. It was never intended we were going to, make it free, complimentary, where people could come. It was never intended. Some people have fought me on this over the years. They said, you shouldn't have any sponsors. None? No. Get rid of all this. You shouldn't have any sponsors. Okay. And then, okay, what are you doing? Doing a 2-day event. This is no more than a 1-day event. Well, those are the same people who told me it wouldn't work. They said, don't ever do a 2-day event. And so we did a 2-day event. And then, during COVID, I was speaking at NADA, but NADA was shut down, right, in 2021, and they had to go virtual. And I knew that from speaking at NADA, right, Curtis, because they make you do a lot of stuff in advance. I knew that they likely didn't have the experience that we did in doing all these virtual events now, which we're doing throughout COVID. So I said, you know what? In 2021, when NADA, this is the National Auto Dealers Association, NADA show, big show. I knew that when they had their show, that which was 3 days long, that I was going to do a 3-day Fixed Ops Roundtable the same days as NADA. And everybody said, don't do it. Don't ever go up against NADA. You'll never succeed. They're going to crush you guys like an ant. It'll be over quick for you. And I said, no, we're going to go up against NADA the same days. And I said, I'm going to get Jay Leno on the show. And, one of our sponsors had sold Jay Leno's garage, the Zamboni machine that cleans the floor, right? And he sold one to Ed Roberts as well. And they knew Jay's assistant. So he was in California. He said, Ted, I'll put you on the phone with Jay's assistant. And she's a very nice lady. And it took a while. It didn't happen overnight, but she finally put me on the phone with Jay Leno. And it was beginning of 2021. And I said, Jay, you don't know me, but I have Ted Ings, Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm on a speakerphone, right? And he's silent. And I said, Jay, many years ago, I was with a Ford dealer in New Jersey. I went to Toronto to the big dealer show, and you were on stage for the dealers. And you told us the story of how you worked at a Ford dealer when you were young as a lot boy, and how you got fired as a lot boy. And I'd like you to come on the roundtable and tell that story. And we're going to raise some money for cancer when you come on. And you're going to help us raise the money. And by the way, it's COVID. You can't go anywhere anyway. So do it, and it's going to be good for the industry. And he was silent. And I think he asked me a question or two, and I answered it. And he said, okay, I'll do it. So we had Jay Leno now. And it was just a matter of when we were going to get him. And then like a day or two later, they called me. His producer called me, and they said, okay, be ready tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And we've had Jay Leno on the show. We put him on the roundtable up against NADA, and we had 8,000 people on the roundtable, and we crushed the other convention. So,
yeah,
so
exciting.
that was part of it. So, but it was never intended, Curtis. So like you said, a lot of the opportunities that you get in life are coming from places you don't expect them. So you never know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I would have never expected video inspections to lead to where I am now, and that's like the video inspections have helped my confidence, helped my speaking in front of the camera and doing things like this, and doing your events as well.
So let me ask you, what does this mean for the tech? What's going to be next? Is the tech going to be front facing all the way? Because they used to be behind the garage door. You never saw the car, right? The door comes down and it's, a question, what happens? Now you're talking to the customer directly.
Well, I think it's like I'm not really talking to them. I think you're talking at them. You're not really having a conversation with them. And I think maybe the next step is some of that integration, because I'll jump at a chance to get on the phone with a customer or to talk to a customer on the service drive, just because I enjoy that. But I think that'll be some of the stuff that comes is next is, I don't want to say cutting out the advisor, but it's like, okay, the customer comes in, they talk to the advisor, and then the technician comes out. Okay, what's your concern? Because I'm going to be able to ask those questions and take out that middleman and figure out what's going on and be able to describe some things, ask some certain questions. And it's really going to take out, I think, some of that middle ground.
Jay, what happens when you get a weak advisor and they can't sell the stuff to the customer?
Well, the technician is angry, and it's never a good thing to have a weak relationship between a service advisor and a technician. That's the bread and butter right there of the fixed operations. So we don't.
I've seen some of the videos you guys have done, by the way, so I know you know about that. I know you know how that works. They're pretty funny. But I mean, will there be more for the tech? I mean, does it stop with the video MPI, Curtis, or is there another step or two or three beyond this?
I mean, I'll quickly say, but I think Jay can attest to the fact that I think personal branding and people maybe not as much as far as like customer to tech interface. I don't see that going too much further, but what I can see is social media being a platform like salespeople use it. You see your tech online, you see him and say, hey, I know Curtis works at this dealership and I'm also in the same city. I'm going to go to that dealership and I'm going to ask for him. He looks like a cool guy. He looks like he's know what he's talking about. He's funny. He has a personality. He has a family. And I think just being more visible is going to allow technicians to retain customers more.
Curtis, do you think dealers would I'm just throwing this out there. I didn't ask you ahead of time. Would dealers hire you or Jay? Would they hire you to come into their store? I mean, assuming that you didn't work at a dealership, would they hire you to come in to show their techs like the steps and how to get started?
I mean, we all know Russ flips whips, right? We all know him. We know some of those guys that do it. So I think it's hard because I don't film in the shop anymore. But I think just being funny, be yourself. And
be yourself.
I mean, that's what Jay does in the shop. He shows his training stuff. I mean, you tell him. I don't want to go. You know more about it than I do.
Yeah, I mean, at the shop, luckily I have a great relationship with my management and everything. And as long as I keep everything professional and do not demean the company, I'm allowed to film the shop and show the inner workings of an automotive structure. Recently, I've just asked for business cards, obviously with the company name on it and everything. Just as service advisors have business cards that customers can grab, I now put them on the customer's dash when I'm doing repairs. So if they do want to come back to a technician or they'd like to email me, I'm here. I'm here to talk, and I'm here to reassure them that their vehicle is being taken care of with the best kind of quality.
I think customers like knowing who the tech is and meeting the tech. I know on mobile service, Jay, that Ed Roberts tells me that the customers dig it. They ask for the same tech back. They want the same one to come back. Of course, they're getting the surface done at home in the driveway, right, or at their place of work. But I think it's a new era for fixed operations, and the transparency that you attest to is upon us, and it's not everywhere yet, but it's coming. So
yeah, I mean, training how your techs. I've seen some dealerships using, they have like a social media team or a marketing team that does filming in the shop. But I think when it comes from the tech, or even if you have, that marketing team that reaches out straight to that tech and they can kind of show who they are as a person and build their own platform, it's a little bit different than like the dealership doing it for you. And that kind of gives us that opportunity. Like you said, like mobile service. I mean, they knock on the door, they probably get the keys, they do their work, and then they give the keys back. And it's such a short amount of time, but that positive impact or that positive conversation that the tech is having with that customer is enough for them to ask again.
Marco says we're going to have drones in the shop. And the drone, I'm thinking of the one we had in Dallas. It was kind of a loud drone, right? And it flew low, like right over our heads, right? But I'm thinking, Marco's saying we're going to have drones in the shop, Jay, and the drone is going to bring the camera out to the tech's bay, okay? And the drone is either going to do the video or assist the tech in doing that MPI video. So that's what he says is coming.
That is a new age of artificial intelligence incorporating with the
But
job.
we're bringing parts out with robots now. Why not? Right? The parts are coming out. I mean, it's still, it's a basic robot, right? But it's gonna get better over the years. It's gonna get really good. So it's gonna eliminate the steps back, hopefully, to the parts department, to the back counter for the tech.
Exactly. And there's probably going to be some resistance, just as there was back in the day with regular MPIs, but people have short-term memory. They won't even forget that they didn't like it a couple of years ago, and now they love it. So,
they're gonna take ownership like other people have done over the years. Right? So,
they have a little drone flying behind you doing a little third-person recording of your video inspection, and I don't know. I feel like that would be almost easier.
I got to tell you, in Tully's shops in California, Tully has 10 at the Nilo company, 10 luxury dealerships. And you met Lucas, one of his techs, who does an outstanding job with the video MPI. Tully literally boarded up the back window in all the parts department. And he has these state-of-the-art facilities. The back window is done, okay? And he took the back counter personnel and moved them out into the shop with a portable cart, a very large cart, good looking, very professionally done. And that parts person is now in the shop on the move, on wheels. Okay. And I like what he's done, and he's done a great job with that. So I think there'll be more of that.
Yeah, it's people like him and the innovation in the industry that kind of pushes us beyond our comfort zone and lets us learn and grow in these areas like the video inspection. And honestly, can't even wait to see what's next. I mean, the AI stuff is crazy, and we talked about the drone stuff. It doesn't even sound that unreasonable in a few years. You never know what's going to happen.
No, it's not unreasonable, right? I mean, we know like so what's next, right? Nothing is. You got to test the boundaries, right? You got to see what will work. So yeah. Who thought you'd be doing a podcast, right? Who thought that you'd have something like this?
Well, this is kind of just like, I wanted a platform for us to talk. I wanted us a platform for technicians to kind of talk about all the positivity, and because there's so much negativity on social media and even in the technician and automotive space. And so it's just a way for the two of us. We have very similar mindsets, and although we're at different points in our career, we both want the same thing. We both want positive change for technicians. We want to talk about the good things about being a tech, and not everyone's like, oh, the dealership is awful and they steal money, blah blah blah. It's like, I enjoy being a dealership tech, I obviously have, my life's not perfect as a tech, but for the most part, I wouldn't be here without that. And I mean, Jay's, he's only been doing this 3.5 years. He's a fully certified Toyota technician. He's a group leader. He's training technicians. And it's just, if you put your mind to it, put your effort in it, it's going to, you're going to reap the benefits. You're going to be able to do that. And this is that, talking with you and future guests is going to be our opportunity to show that the corporate side of things, the technician side of things, we're a team. Like, we're all a team, and we need to work together to do what's best for each other and do what's best for the customer.
So Jay, everybody knows Curtis now. They know him. He comes out to these events, all right, and they ask, "Oh, can I be on a panel with Curtis?" Okay, and these are dealer people. These are business leaders. So he's very quickly built a name up for himself, and he's become a celebrity all on his own. So.
Yeah, I've been seeing it. I'm always asking him questions like, "Hey, man, how did you do this? Or how did you get your name out there? And like, how is it speaking to such prominent figures in the automotive industry, but not even at the tech level, at the general manager, CEO level?" Is
Well, guess what? That's why you guys are different. Because guess what? We never heard the tech talk before. That's recent. That's new for people who are the dealers. And the dealer didn't come up through the shop. The dealer likely came up through where? The showroom floor, selling cars. So this is all fairly new to them. And now the technician has a voice. Curtis, you are talking on behalf and representing all these techs all over the world. Okay. I mean, that's new. That's fascinating. People are going to listen to that.
Yeah, I think it's strange. It's I mean, it's funny you mentioned people want to be on panels for me. I mean, that doesn't even feel real. That like that's even a thing. I'm just like I'm just there minding my own business in the high, just kind of. I'm quiet, so just huddling in the corner over there. But like you said, it's people are having the opportunity to hear from the shop in a positive way. It's not just like, oh, I think it's the positive thing that really gets it is like I'm not sitting up there complaining. I'm sitting up there being constructive. How can we move forward in positive ways? And I think that really resonates with a lot of people on both sides. Upper management and lower management, technicians, and everywhere in between.
You guys are legit. So congratulations to both of you. And I think you're going to go real far. And there's no telling how far you're going to go. So
yeah, we're just gonna go. Jay, we need to start getting you involved in some of these events. Maybe something a little bit closer to home. We can get you out there, get you in a suit, and I know you're a talker. You've been quiet during this podcast, but I know you're a chatty guy. You're super fun to talk to. So
where do you work, Jay? Where? Or just say what city you work in. How about
that? Sanford, near Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, okay, yeah. What a great car town.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, the car show's pretty good here.
Well, yeah, Jay's actually
Curtis was just talking about. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm talking.
Curtis was just talking about Las Vegas, and I was like, Vegas. I was like, geez. I mean, through my Marine Corps career, I've only been mostly on the east side of America. So just to go to Las Vegas would be a whole different structure change.
Thank you for your service.
That's
huge. Raleigh, North Carolina. I had some of my early successes in training at Raleigh Toyota in Raleigh, North Carolina. I sat next to a gentleman named Fred Anderson, who came to my first training, and Fred really built Raleigh Toyota and many other dealerships as well. Mike Leith, the Leith organization, and North Carolina is also part of SET, Southeast Toyota, as you probably know, distributors. So,
he works. That's who he works for.
Some of the best in the world. There you go.
The world is so small. The world is so small. It's unbelievable.
SET. Yeah. There you go. So we had, I'll mention his name because he's been on the roundtable. We had Kai Ramadan, the vice president of Southeast Toyota Fixed Operations, on the show not that long ago. And he was talking about some of the things they're doing with express service. And it was a really cool segment. I had never had him on before, but he did a magnificent job. And he's opened the door to us, to a lot of other people who've come in from their dealers and from SET, and then as a result from Jim Moran and Associates, JM&A in Florida, and that's a premier organization. So
yeah, that's like all that there is at work. JMA and SET, and I mean the dealer I work for, as you just mentioned, one of the first ones you mentioned. It's amazing. I had never personally on the tech side heard of all these things, but I mean, managers have, and it's amazing how small the world is, honestly.
I'll leave you with this because we started out talking about cancer, and I'll close with this. There was a Ford dealer in Chicago many years ago, and he was diagnosed with cancer, and he was called the Courtesy Man. It was Courtesy Ford, and he was given a diagnosis of having 6 to 9 months to live. And he had been to all the doctors and hospitals, and they said, nope, that's what you got. So he sold the dealership. He had been a Time Dealer of the Year, was on the cover of Time magazine, and he retired to Florida. His name was Jim Moran. And after he retired to Florida, things happened, a turn for the best, and he began getting better, and his cancer went into remission, and he was looking for something to do. And at the time, Toyota did not have the greatest product in the world in the United States. And they were looking for dealers. And he was approached because they knew he could sell cars, he could move metal. They approached him about taking the Toyota name and brand and moving it into gas stations in Florida. And if he could convince these gas station owners to become dealers. And he agreed to do it in the 5 southeastern states: Florida, Alabama, Georgia, North and South Carolina. And that was the beginning of SET, Southeast Toyota. Those were all, those Toyota dealers were all gas station owners. And Jim Moran started that company. And he came back from a cancer diagnosis, diagnosed to die, and came back and lived many years and built an amazing empire and became one of the great success stories. And I will tell you this personally from my interaction with Jim Moran, that he was one of the greatest closers I've ever seen work. And he hired me to do a lot of work for them. I was doing for Toyota, and I saw him at work. And I rode on a couple of his private jets in between his dealers and did some work to bring dealers in to sell some of the services that he had. And at the end, we'd always fly him into the executive airport in Deerfield Beach. They would take the car, bring the dealers into SET. We would go into Jim Moran's office. We'd all sit down with Jim, take our jackets off, and Jim would close the deal. And I watched him do it many times, and he was amazing. So, and that's how Southeast Toyota was born.
I didn't know you had such. I mean, I knew you had connections, Ted, but this is crazy. It's just like
True story.
Just being in the industry and knowing everybody is just crazy. All right, so I guess we'll wrap it up here. Where can we find you, Ted? Where can technicians find you specifically? Let's what are some of the places that we can find you?
Just a couple. Go to fixedopsroundtable.com. Obviously, that's always our next event. We're always in event mode, as you know. You could see our next event coming up. You could sign up for that. It's all free. All of our events, in person or online, are always complimentary. We never charge for an event. So you could sign up there. You could find me on LinkedIn, Ted Ings. You could find me on Facebook. You could find me on TikTok, Instagram. Probably LinkedIn is the biggest one, though. So
very exciting. Julie, do you want to close this out for us?
All right. Thank you, Ted, for giving us the opportunity to have you on this podcast. And thank you, Technar, for having me on here as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the second episode of Way of the Technician. Thank you very much, and see you next time.